Hello and welcome to this Fallout Wasteland Warfare Battle Report series. This is the third entry of a 5-part series using the To the Rescue campaign from the Into the Wasteland expansion. The forces of the Mechanist are pushing eastward, tailing a group from the Institute that raided a settlement and carried off some of the settlers. Every moment counts and could make the difference between victory and defeat. However, our heroic band is lightly equipped, so as they cross the wasteland, it's not a bad idea to try and scavenge some items along the way. They don't know what they'll find once they catch up to the kidnappers, and it doesn't hurt to be prepared. The squad for today is the Mechanist as the leader, with their standard kit and the robot controller bonus perk of Program Pick, Program Act, and Mend Robot. They're also holding on to a Molotov cocktail. A free tech who has been reaping the benefits of all the gear we've picked up in the wasteland. He's also sporting a red flight helmet, dirty postman uniform, and some robotic bits. He's also holding on to a fresh melon, just in case. A stock Mr. Handy, a somewhat busted battered Assaultron who's hanging on to a robot repair kit we found, and a dapper Protectron. Today's excursion has our intrepid team passing through a super mutant-infested area. On the field, we have 2 radstags, a mutant hound, 1 normal super mutant, 1 skirmisher, and a big bad himself, Hammer. The AI units aren't fully aggressive yet, so all we have to do is sneak past them while picking up items. Should go just fine, right? While they aren't auto-aggroed, sometimes the best defense is a swift offense. Mr. Handy jumps forward and hoses the mutant hound down with his flamer. Heretics must be purged. Wait, wrong game. Meanwhile, for some reason, the radstag decides that instead of meandering around, it doesn't like these mutants. The reason is actually just the roll on the AI die, but still, pretty weird. It charges the skirmisher, but nothing comes of the attack. The valiant Protectron moves up towards the first item, but its stubby legs are so short that it can't quite make it. Unhappy about his buddy being charged in the back, the super mutant fires and knocks 2 points of damage into the radstag. The Mechanist also double moves up. Their aura effects are likely to be needed next turn, and their attacks are not amazing, so it made more sense just to have them advance. Radstag number 2 doesn't like the melee that has started, and full sprint charges into the super mutant with a rifle. It crashes into him and sends him sprawling with 2 damage to boot. The free tech readies himself, but doesn't activate. Yet. He's a bit nervous about that singed and angry mutant hound. The skirmisher who took a charge to the back swings wildly, but is unable to put any damage on his assailant. Tired of waiting, the Assaultron leaps over the barrier and mangles the mutant hound before it can even activate. Since he was already readied, the free tech also has to take his turn. He runs up and grabs an item, which turns out to be some delicious squirrel stew. Hammer decides to live up to his name, charges forward, and thwacks 3 points of damage onto the unengaged radstag. At the end of turn 1, the top half of the board is already quite clear, but didn't have a lot of items to loot. The southern half has a spicy engagement between Beast and other Beast, which we're hoping to just slip past. At the start of turn 2, the Brotherhood of Steel mistakes the Mechanist for an enemy and plinks a point of damage into their armor. With its amazing move speed, the battered Assaultron is able to search for 2 items in 1 turn, and brings up nothing. Both sites are empty. The shooty super mutant puts the final point of damage on the radstag that's fighting Hammer. Surprisingly, he doesn't hit Hammer either time. The Protectron moves up and claims another item. Fortunately, its mighty robot chassis can ignore the poison and grabs a typewriter, which will be useless in the final battle. Oh well. Now that we've started getting in range of Hammer, we have to start rolling for his AI to see if he gets aggroed by our team or not. Fortunately, movement is not hostility, so he stays focused on the radstag assault. The skirmisher flails wildly, but just can't connect with the wild buck. Our free tech moves up and grabs 2 more items, a useless cap stash and a very useful Nuka cherry. Hammer, fortunately, doesn't notice. With that big missile launcher, he could easily delete the tech or put a hurting on any of our teammates, so as long as he stays calm, things are looking up. Swinging with his super sledge, with an extra green for outnumbering and black for being super strong, Hammer brings hammer time to the radstag and crushes it into giblets. With no other unready models on the board, Mr. Handy and the Mechanist both double move up to get closer to our actual objective, getting off the right side of the board. At the end of turn 2, our forces are about halfway across the map already and have claimed all the easy-to-grab items. There are only 2 left on the board now, but they're both behind a wall of angry mutants. At the start of turn 3, a gust of wind makes throwing things more difficult. Hopefully that's not going to be necessary. Not liking his chances if the mutants decide to get unfriendly, the free tech books it over to one of the item areas, finds nothing, and then hustles off the table. The pipe rifle-toting super mutant takes some shots at the Protectron, but can't hit the broadside of a barn. Realizing that it's only a matter of time before Hammer decides to aggro, the Mechanist decides to take matters into their hands. They use the Program Act perk to ready both themselves and Mr. Handy, fire off their Stealth Boy, and then charge right in to tie up the mutant leader. With a larger charge distance, Mr. Handy is able to charge and attack in the same turn. With the bonus dice for charging and outnumbering, he's able to put 3 solid damage through. Wanting to redeem himself in Hammer's eyes, the Skirmisher charges the bot that was slicing him up, but whiffs entirely. Mediocre. The battered Assaultron charges in full steam to join the melee with Hammer, but doesn't have quite enough time to follow through on their attack. Hammer swings hard at Mr. Handy and knocks 3 points of damage into it, half its health. Fortunately, the second swing goes wild, so Mr. Handy survives. Unable to reach the melee even with a charge, the Protectron toddles up to get ready for the next round. The end of turn 3 has condensed the entirety of the action into the remaining quarter of the board. The slugfest will continue until only one side remains. At the start of turn 4, it turns out that this location is on top of a minefield. Whoops. Using Program Act again, the Mechanist readies themselves and the battered Assaultron. The Assaultron's superpowered attack X's out entirely. Whoops. Their second attack does hit cleanly, though. The Assaultron also hands off a robot repair kit to Mr. Handy, who has a much more pressing need for it. I missed photographing the Mechanist's first swing, but it was an exclamation point result and a hit, which generates 2 crit points. The Mr. Handy Buzzblade only needs 2 crit points for an automatic critical hit, so the Mechanist is able to bury the saw blade in Hammer's skull and drops him. It's fortunate that Mr. Handy got the robot repair kit, because the Skirmisher finally decided to wake up and knocked 4 points of damage into him with 2 swings. If it weren't for that kit, he would have been down and out. The valiant Protectron takes a pot shot at the Skirmisher, which goes wild, and then charges in so that Mr. Handy can make a safe withdrawal. As the first model to move this turn, it turns out that the Protectron stepped on an old mine. It pops. But due to the Protectron's thick armor, only the Skirmisher takes damage. The remaining super mutant takes a shot at the Mechanist, but their Stealth Boy means that the mutant can't even draw a bead on them. On his way off the field, Mr. Handy retrieves the final item. It's a danger that's not a danger, but caps which are useless going forward. Oh well, better than it could have been. At the end of turn 4, Hammer has been removed, and only a few models remain on the battlefield. Turn 5 starts out with distant gunfire, not an issue for us today. Since the primary objective is just moving on, the Mechanist and their battered Assaultron friend ready up. And exit stage right. The normal super mutant charges the Protectron, surprisingly getting a damage through. It doesn't concern the Protectron, though. Even 2 parting melee shots fail to do more than 1 more point of damage, before he saunters into the sunset, completing the scenario. In the intermezzo, 3 Explore cards get drawn, which end up netting the team an Assaultron blade, strong armor tokens for everybody next battle, and a Tesla coil mod. It doesn't specify which type, so I decide to treat it as a robot-specific mod. Fun! That's a wrap on Part 3. Part 4 is the penultimate mission in this campaign, and the final one that focuses on traveling through contested ground. So keep an eye out for that, and take a look at some of our other videos while you're waiting for this series to finish up. Thanks for watching.